Continuing to keep you updated on the Mica Miller and John Paul Miller case. Some new information coming out now. This is very concerning if, in fact, this is what is really going on with John Paul, because if it is legit, it could very well be a crime. And a lot of people are saying now that this information has been presented to the FBI to just add to the investigation that's already been ongoing in this case. So we're going to talk about what that is. And of course, JP's right hand, Trisha Ross, allegedly is playing a role in this as well. We're also going to get into the 911 call that JP made a couple of days after Mica had passed away. That was on April 30th. Some interesting points I want to talk about with that.
Haley, thank you for the roses.
And also, was there somebody in the car with Mica on the day that she unfortunately passed away?
Oh, Lord.
A lot of people are saying that there was. We're going to talk about what all that means as well and so much more in just a second. But before we even do that, I want to welcome all of you to Not By
Have y'all heard this?
Sight News. Yes, blind Christian guy here reporting to you, reminding you as always that we walk by faith, not by sight. For someone like me, that's kind of my only option. Speaking of that, for those interested, you want to know my story. How did I go blind? How do I operate my entire ministry without being able to see? I made a video that explains it all. You'll find a link to that in the description section of all my videos. And if you really enjoy and appreciate my work here and you would like to contribute with a donation, you can do that a couple different ways. One, by hitting the super thanks button on the YT video, or you can join the Patreon for as little as $5 a month at patreon.com/notbysightnews. Hey, do you guys want to get access to all of these videos before they hit the main YT platform? Well, when you join my Patreon, that's exactly what you are going to get, along with a bunch of other cool features. I hope you'll check it out and join me there. Again, it's patreon.com/notbysightnews. Big thank
There you go. KD, thank you.
Thank you to everybody already contributing and those thinking of doing so. Thank you as well. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. All right, let's get into this. I want to start off first with this thought, this theory that Mica may not have been alone in her vehicle the day that she passed away on April 27th. Now,
oh, Lord.
Many TikTokers out there have discovered this potential shadow that was in the back seat of her car. Now, this would have been at the time that she left the pawn shop. Now, I'm going to let you guys be the judge of this for yourselves, because sometimes I like to just present these, these theories out there. And by the way, these are not necessarily theories that I subscribe to myself. Again, I'm saying allegedly here because, who really knows for sure other than God? But I want to present this to you guys, and I'm going to put a link in the description here of this video where you can check out for yourself and see, in fact, if you believe that Mica may, have potentially had somebody else there in the vehicle with her that may have been instructing her as far as where to go. And of course, we know that she eventually ended up at Lumber River State Park. And, if you...
Right, Nurse KK, thank you.
Look into what we now know about this case and the fact that Mica's family has said that they saw bruises on her arms and her hands. Of course, when they were at the funeral home, they were taking pictures and video of that so they could have that for proof, because they knew that the body was going to be cremated very quickly. It's a lot of weird things, right? When you take a look at this. So you guys can be the judge of that for yourselves. Another thing I want to point out here is this 911 call that JP made. It was on April 30th. Okay, now this is only a couple of days after Mica had passed away. We know that Mica had been staying with that older lady that had, previously attended Solid Rock Church before JP had apparently kicked her out of the church because he took Mica in. Diana was her name, and it was Diana.
Can you imagine kicking someone out of your church because they took your soon-to-be ex-wife in? That's crazy as hell.
Diana's, vehicle that Mica had been driving. But JP, this was the day on April 30th that he wanted to get Mica's belongings. Now, JP had called 911 to inform them that, Diana was not allowing him access into the apartment to get Mica's things. Now, I hadn't previously heard this call before. Maybe some of you had. I just hadn't. You know, I've been covering this case since the beginning. There's just so much out there. Sometimes things are going to, you know, kind of slip through the cracks. You may miss a few things here and there. But I will also have that 911 call in the link in my description, and you can check that out there for yourself too. But in this call, JP sounds very frantic. It's just my opinion as far as really needing to get access to
fisherman. Yeah, that I mean, we watched a lot of videos about the fisherman, and that's a weird part about this case. Very weird part about this case.
To that apartment to get Mica's things.
Auntie, this is Not by Sight News on YouTube.
Now, as he's talking to the 911 dispatcher, he says, you know, again, very frantically in his voice, that, you know, his you know, he just had someone had just passed in the family, didn't come out right away and say his wife, but that someone had passed and he really needed to get access to their belongings. There was things he needed to get, but the lady that she was staying with just won't let him in. And he says that, you know, she just doesn't like me. I don't know what it is. She doesn't like me for whatever reason. Well, I think we
for whatever reason, Lord have mercy.
We know the reason that the lady, you know, Diana didn't like JP. You know, again, if we're going off what certain reports have been saying here, you know, when, you know, JP found out that she took Mica in, you know, she was banned from the church. And this is what we heard about from a lot of other former members as well that attended Solid Rock. If they did something that JP didn't like, well, he had them kicked out of the church. They weren't allowed to come back. So, yeah, this whole thing, for some reason, I think we know the reason why Diana, you know, didn't like JP and didn't want him to have access to the apartment. But JP is asking on, you know, the call to the dispatcher, you know, can you please have a police officer meet me down here to help me get access to these things? And then the dispatcher asks him, you know, well, who is it you're trying to get these things? Who was it that passed away? And then he responds by saying his wife. And again, very frantic in his voice, very panicked. So I'm asking the question, you know, what was it that he was really trying to get? What was he so worried about that he needed to get access to so quickly at that point? And again, I'll let you guys discuss that in the comments section, you know, if you would like to do that. Again, just very strange in this case. Now, I want to go to this new, what I think is a huge piece of news that has come out. And this is something that apparently Robbie Harvey had been working on, and Robbie's been doing a great job of covering this case. I often like to use him as a source. He does a great job. And there was this talk that JP had apparently been hiring people to dig up dirt on content creators who were speaking about this case. But not just speaking about the case, but more or less speaking negatively about JP and in ways that he didn't like. But that apparently JP was willing to pay people, okay? This is allegedly. I'm saying this is 100% fact. But allegedly willing to pay people $350 in exchange for information on these creators. But not only would it be $350, you would get a check sent from JP, but he would also give you 10% of whatever sort of settlement he may earn in any sort of defamation case that may end up happening against a content creator. Now, that's a huge claim, right? That's a huge claim. And I know that Robbie Harvey had been working on this, and then he obtained some screenshots, which I will also have for you here.
Oh, man.
In the link in my description, where in fact it looks like these checks were not just personal checks from JP, but from Solid Rock Ministries.
Were they written on the church's checks? Whoa.
And as you will see in the clip, you will see Solid Rock Ministries in the upper left-hand corner of the check. Now, immediately, what would stand out to me is that, well, these are then church funds that JP is willing to use to pay these individuals to dig up dirt on these content creators. which would be a huge misappropriation of funds, of church finances, and of course, those that were giving their tithes and their offerings to Solid Rock, knowing that allegedly, if that's what JP was doing here, I mean, and we've talked before on other videos, on past updates, about other ways that church funds may have been misappropriated as well. But
how dare you?
But with this, I mean, that's just yikes, right? But we even have here in the text messages, it looks like JP was giving Trisha Ross, the right hand of JP, the go-ahead to go ahead and cut the check for these individuals, which is very interesting. Because if you look at the date on the check, you can see, in fact, that it says May 28th. So this was some time ago, of course. But if this is in fact legit, that's a major concern. And I've, detailed Trisha's checkered past of her own right, her own issues with the law and things like that. And you can go back and check on past videos for that. But yeah, giving the go-ahead here to issue out these checks. I mean, we know that JP had been sending out C&Ds, right? Cease and desist to certain individuals that, people were talking about him. So trying to quiet people down. So, again, he doesn't have to look as bad as we know that he, already does in this case. But also on the...
Right. Hey, look, my mom's in the chat. She's in the room and also in the chat.
Check, you'll see on the memo line it says benevolence on there. So that's another interesting term to use as far as putting on this check and then sending these out to people. Again, using the church funds. Now, the question becomes, is this a crime? Apparently in the state of Florida it is. I don't know about South Carolina. It may be. But this information, again, was sent to the FBI as a new piece of evidence. So again, if in fact this is the case and he was doing this, and look, you can't put anything past JP. I'm not saying 100% for a fact this is legit, but if you look at, the text messages and, you look at the check, you guys can make the call. I'm going to let you make the call on this. I'm putting this out there and you guys can decide. You can talk about it amongst yourself in the comment section.
What do y'all think?
But this is a big problem. This is a real big problem.
Yup, Misty, thank you.
And again, I would love to know what the lawyers are thinking about this, if in fact this is true, and JP was willing to hire people to dig up this dirt, and again, use the money directly from Solid Rock to do it, with again, Solid Rock Ministries right there on the check, $350, and then offering on top of that a 10% cut of any settlement that he gets from a defamation suit. That's crazy. That's crazy.
That is pretty damn crazy.
But again, look, it's all allegedly. We will see where this goes. No arrests still at this point have been made, and we are coming up now on nearly 2 months already since Mica tragically lost her life. Some people are saying that we'll never see justice for her in this lifetime. Well, never say never. One thing I can tell you is that there will be eternal justice. If there's not earthly justice, and I don't know, there may still be. I don't know how long that process is going to play out. Some people are saying, it needs to happen already. I get it. I understand the frustration and a lot of people asking, why hasn't arrests already been made? I get it. But sometimes these things don't work out in our timing. They're going to work out in God's timing. And again, eternal justice will happen. And see, when eternal justice is laid out, there are no lawyers present at that time. It is you and the Lord one-on-one. No one else around you. No attorneys again, no family, no friends, no one like that. No. Just you and the Lord. For you give an account of your life unto him. He's the final judge. And, well, as long-suffering as we know the Lord is, we know that period is running out soon.